Today, Russia pounds Ukraine with missiles and drones for a second day. A top US general says the risk of a broader Middle East war has eased after weekend exchanges between Israel and Hezbollah. The arrest of the CEO of messaging app Telegram causes an outcry among free speech advocates. And British rock band Oasis confirmed they're reuniting 15 years after their acrimonious split. It's Tuesday, August 27th. This is Reuters World News, bringing you everything you need to know from the front lines in 10 minutes, every weekday. I'm Carmel Crimmins in Dublin. Ukraine's Odessa region, and emergency teams clearing up after one of many Russian strikes there and across the country. On Monday, Moscow launched more than 200 missiles and drones, killing at least 7 people and damaging energy facilities. The attacks are continuing today. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky calling it one of the biggest combined strikes since the war began. He once again urged allies to supply more weapons. Here, families shelter in Kyiv's metro stations from the attacks. The Kremlin had warned there would be a response to Ukraine's incursion into Kursk 3 weeks after the surprise assault. US President Joe Biden called Monday's wave of attacks outrageous. Reuters safety advisor Ryan Evans was killed, and 2 journalists were injured in a strike on a hotel in the eastern Ukrainian city of Kramatorsk on Saturday. Journalist Ivan Lubashkervi remains in critical condition. They were part of a team of 6 people from Reuters covering the war in Ukraine, who were staying at the Hotel Sapphire when it was hit by a missile. We send our deepest condolences and thoughts to Ryan's family and loved ones. Ryan has helped so many of our journalists cover events around the world. We will miss him terribly, Reuters said in a statement. One other Reuters journalist, Daniel Pelishuk, was also injured, while the other 3 team members have been accounted for. Zelensky said on Sunday that the Hotel Sapphire was hit by a Russian Iskander missile, a ballistic missile that can strike at distances of up to 500 kilometers. Reuters was not able to independently verify if the missile that hit the hotel was fired by Russia, or if the strike on that building was deliberate. Russia's defense ministry has not commented on the strike. On Monday, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov did not directly address whether Moscow had targeted the Sapphire Hotel in a conference call with reporters, but said Moscow only struck military infrastructure or places related to military infrastructure in one way or another. America's top general says the near-term risk of a broader war in the Middle East has eased off a bit after Israel and Hezbollah exchanged cross-border fire over the weekend without further escalation. But Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Air Force General C.Q. Brown, says regional risks remain. Phil Stewart is travelling with Brown, and we caught up with him while he was on the move.
This big exchange that happened on Sunday really didn't lead to the tipping point that a lot of people had feared. There was a real concern that an attack, a major attack that had been threatened by Hezbollah in Lebanon would lead to a much broader regional war. And that threat has diminished somewhat. Unfortunately, there's still the concern that this regional war could still happen if Iran makes good on its threats to carry out a retaliatory strike over the killing of the senior Hamas leader in Tehran last month that it blames on Israel. Israel has not confirmed or denied responsibility. And so this threat from Iran remains. And I think General Brown is very concerned that Iran may make a decision that leads to a series of events that could force Israel to again in turn respond. And so what happens next is quite important. But for the moment, this threat of regional conflict seems to have diminished somewhat.
More than 70 people have been killed in militant attacks in Pakistan's Balochistan. Security forces have launched retaliatory operations after separatist militants attacked police stations, railway lines, and highways. The militants are fighting a decades-long insurgency to win succession of the resource-rich province, which is home to major China-led projects. A man digs a grave in Sudan. A dead body covered in a white sheet lies on the ground nearby. At least 30 people are dead and up to 200 are missing after a dam burst in the east of the country near the Red Sea. Torrential rain caused floods that burst through Arabat Dam, the main water source for Port Sudan, which is home to hundreds of thousands of displaced people, now at risk of thirst. A landslide in Alaska has killed one person and displaced dozens of families in the tourist hub of Ketchikan. Emergency crews are braced for more landslides, and dozens of homes have been evacuated. The captain of the yacht that sunk, killing British tech magnate Mike Lynch and 6 other people, is under investigation. 51-year-old James Cutfield, a New Zealand national, is being investigated for manslaughter and shipwreck after the yacht sank off the coast of Sicily last week. Former President Donald Trump has threatened to pull out of the September 10th debate against Vice President Kamala Harris. Harris's campaign team wants a return to open mics, prompting Trump to threaten a no-show, as well as suggesting the agreed network, ABC, is biased. Over on markets, and there's more bad news out of China. A gloomy outlook from Temu owner PDD and revenues that missed expectations sent its shares down nearly 30%, wiping out nearly $55 billion in market capitalization. Its disappointing sales outlook underscores the weakness of the Chinese economy, something I explore in this week's episode of my podcast, Reuters Econ World. We're homing in on youth unemployment and China's despondent young graduates. It'll be out tomorrow on Reuters.com, the Reuters app, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Russian-born founder of Telegram, Pavel Durov, is being detained in France as part of an investigation into criminal activity on the messaging app. The billionaire's arrest has ignited a debate about freedom of speech and illegal content on the internet. Telegram says it abides by European Union laws. Gabriel Stargarter is in Paris. Gabriel, Durov's arrest has caused quite a reaction around the world.
Yeah, I think that's in part due to the fact that there was this radio silence from French authorities for nearly 2 days. They didn't even confirm that he had been arrested, and that kind of led to a sort of information vacuum that allowed people to fill it with noise. I think it's part of a broader, tougher stance that governments around the world are taking on how much free speech can be allowed on these online platforms. I think it feeds into questions around that.
It's also put Durov under a spotlight. Who is he?
Durov is a somewhat mercurial figure, Russian-born, but has French citizenship, which was granted to him in 2021 under a quite rare, difficult to get hold of procedure for sort of high-profile individuals. It requires high-level political support. He has kind of lived this slightly elusive lifestyle jetting around the world. His app has become sort of a home for some of the people who've been kicked off or feel worried about the oversight of more traditional places like, say, WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. And as a result of that, people from the far right, press freedom advocates, people who worry about the long arm of the law have tended to gravitate towards Telegram. It's also hugely popular in Russia and Ukraine and is part of the crucial sort of communication architecture undergirding Russia's war in Ukraine.
And just before we go, to our recommended read. And today, what's the story? Well, it's the news that has gripped music fans over the last few days. Confirmation that British band Oasis are reuniting for a series of gigs next summer. The Gallagher brothers, Noel and Liam, have buried the hatchet after breaking up in 2009 following a major falling out between the two. The tour will mark the 30th anniversary of their second album. What's the story, Morning Glory? A link to the story is in the pod description. And for more on any of the stories from today, check out Reuters.com or the Reuters app. To never miss an episode, subscribe on your favourite podcast player. We'll be back tomorrow with our daily headline show.